Julian, Matt Rhule says the Panthers are significantly better than they were before they left for Indianapolis. Would you agree with that?
It's hard for me to say, honestly. Like, I'm not there, boots on the ground every single day with this team, but I would imagine that you would be better. I think one of the bigger reasons why they went up to Indianapolis and Matt Rhule said as much is because this is a playoff team. Last season with Phillip Rivers and Frank Reich as their head coach, they went to the playoffs, wild card, pushed Buffalo, and it's an established team with older players, guys like Darius Leonard, who's one of the best defensive players in football, and going up against them, that's only going to make your team better. So going to 2 straight days of joint practices and leading up to Sunday and getting to watch the 2s and 3s perform. And PJ Walker certainly looked like he has grown and become a better quarterback as we saw him perform the entirety of the first half. So, yeah, I would imagine the Carolina Panthers got better just based off of the fact that you played against an experienced team, a playoff team that's going to have a ton of expectations heading into 2021, that being the Indianapolis Colts.
All right, they lost the game. They obviously kind of fell apart there in the second half when the third string team was in. But what did you like about Sunday's preseason opener at Indianapolis?
I think you have to like, obviously, the growth of PJ Walker. His mobility and obviously his arm strength are 2 things that stand out. He definitely needed it behind that offensive line that had a few struggles. The play that he had to Terrace Marshall was terrific. The play that he kind of had to make up, even though the communication there wasn't great, right, heading into the 2-minute warning there in the second quarter with the touchdown throw to Tommy Trimble. That's some of the stuff that you like. I think he clearly separated himself as the true number 2 quarterback on the roster. And honestly, just going back to last season where he started against Detroit and just the continuity that he has with Matt Rhule having played for him at Temple, I felt like that's going to be the case anyway. I'd also point out what the offensive rookie skill position players did. Yeah. Tommy Trimble, it looked like more than just a run blocking tight end with 3 catches and that touchdown reception. Terrace Marshall, his first touch ever as an NFL player, goes 60 yards. Even Chuba Hubbard, with a lot of running back injuries, he breaks one for 59 yards. Didn't really do much outside of that. Had a few drops, but you can see that he could possibly be a pretty good number 2 option behind Christian McCaffrey. I love that. I also love the depth at edge rusher. Christian Miller is a guy who opted out last season. Wasn't really sure how he's going to factor into the fold this year. He didn't get any sacks yesterday, but he was definitely causing a lot of pressure. Yetur Gross-Matos had a sack. Frankie Louvu, free agent, came over from the Jets. He had a sack. Marquise Haynes, someone who seems to never be talked about on his defense, had 4 sacks last year, had a sack, strip sack yesterday. And what, they had 3 takeaways? I love what I saw from that defensive depth. Now, there were some concerns, but I think there's a lot of positives to take away, especially in the first half of that performance of the Carolina Panthers on Sunday.
What would your biggest concerns be, and what's your level of concern, I guess, about those, red flags, I guess?
Yeah, I think you can look at, obviously, the penalties and whether it was the second team offensive line or the third team offensive line getting a situation late in the game. And I saw you tweet this out, and I'm kind of with you. I'm not going to freak out about turning a 3rd and 2 into a 3rd and 17 with 3 straight false starts with guys who aren't going to probably be on the roster. That's not what you want to see in that situation. Maybe
that's not silent cadence among Will Grier and the 3rd team line heading into one preseason road game with the first regular season road game not coming till week 3. Like, there's a lot of bigger fish to fry in camp right now.
Yeah, and also that week 3 road game. I don't know how many fans are going to be there for the Houston Texans. So that might not be that hostile of an environment, but also goes into preparation and maybe prepare your team for those situations because you are playing on the road. There are fans to be in the stands, but I'm not going to freak out too much about that. I do have concern about the overall depth of the offensive line. Trent Scott is a candidate to be a starting left tackle. Cam Erving, it's his job to lose. He said as much. Matt Rhule has said as much. And Trent Scott only played, 14 snaps yesterday, had multiple false start penalties, and was taken out of the game in favor of Greg Little. Greg Little didn't necessarily come out and do too many crazy things. I thought Brady Christensen, for the most part, had a solid day. But you see Deontay Brown go down with an injury, Matt Caskey down with an injury, Sam Tecklenburg at center. I mean, kudos to this guy. Had to play the entirety of the game at the position. I just worry about the depth, especially when you look at the starters and you have question marks when it comes to that left side with Pat Elflein and with Cam Erving. And then Matt Paradis in his own right at center is dealing with an injury with his back.
Whether Sam Darnold plays this weekend against Baltimore or just participates in the joint practices against the Ravens in Spartanburg, what would you like to see from him to make you feel at least good about going into week 1? Because I feel right now it's really tough to gauge what he is. He hasn't done anything catastrophic in camp. He hasn't done anything, kind of gangbusters in camp so far.
Yeah, I appreciate what Joe Person of The Athletic wrote on Sunday following the game. Like PJ Walker looked great. You certainly saw a lot of positives and a few negatives from Sunday. But the one question that matters for this team is Sam Darnold going to be prepared week one against the New York Jets to be the franchise quarterback? And we'll find out throughout the season. I have a hard time seeing him play on Saturday night. I don't think Matt Rhule is going to put him in a situation where if there's still the injuries on the offensive line like they had this week with Paradis and Cam Irving, I don't see him putting him back there with second team guys trying to protect him, especially when those guys didn't really do the greatest job protecting PJ Walker and, of course, Will Grier with the third string offensive line. What if he does play, and really not even if he plays, what I want to see out of him in terms of what's being reported on Wednesday and Thursday down in Spartanburg is him protecting the football, is him handling the pressure, because the Baltimore Ravens, that's a mean, nasty bunch in that front seven, and they're going to cause a lot of stress for Sam Darnold. Can he handle it? And we saw last year in his last couple of seasons in New York, even when he had a clean pocket, he didn't seem to have that kind of confidence to go out there and still make plays. So I need to see how he handles that kind of pressure and if he has an overall control of the offense. I don't think week one is going to be that high stress considering who the opponent is, but week two against New Orleans certainly is going to be a game that you want this guy to be ready to go. So I don't know if we see him on Saturday night. Obviously, Matt Rhule's already said we'll see him game 3 against Pittsburgh. But there's a few things I need to see from Sam Darnold with that poise and confidence before really being excited to see what he's going to do week one.
A bonus quarterback question for you. Will Grier is going to have one heck of a game Saturday night to climb back into this number 2 race. Do you think Will Grier is done as a Carolina Panther if he does not do that?
I don't know. And I'm not really sure whether he's going to get an opportunity or not. Matt Rhule was asked after the game on Sunday if Will Grier would see more time with the second team throughout the week and then next Saturday. You look at the situation he was placed in yesterday, it wasn't really an opportunity for him to succeed. They didn't really ask him to operate the offense anyway. He handed the ball off a ton. The offensive line got in their own way, couldn't protect them, couldn't stay on side, procedural penalties, all that kind of stuff. So I don't think he was really set up for success yesterday. And if he doesn't get the opportunity, whether it's the joint practices on Wednesday and Thursday with the Ravens or on Saturday night, I don't really know whether you can actually honestly look at him and say whether he got a fair shot or not. If he does get cut, I'm just curious if there's any teams out there that are going to try and pick him up on waivers, just based off of the fact that he hadn't played in 2 years until on Sunday and didn't look like he had really improved all that much. And again, didn't get much of an opportunity. He could still be a Panther. It might just be on the practice squad as a developmental quarterback, which I don't hate for the Panthers to have multiple guys, him and PJ Walker, in that role.
Love the background, Julian, but let's get you into this dazzling studio this season. Can't wait.
Yeah, we'll love to. Got to get down there.
Can't wait.
Got to get out of the house, obviously.